I mean, we did business. I sold his house, right? We're Facebook friends. I don't know that he's done a review for us, but that guy just wanted the deal. He didn't want the whole shtick all the way through the presentation. Now, the danger is, of course, that if I don't give him enough information, it's going to be a problem later in the listing. So I'm always saying we do the whole presentation for everybody. I don't mean all 69 slides. I just mean you've got to get the important stuff out. So you need to know enough about our programs. You need to know enough about how we work so that you can educate them about how this is going to go. Because, for example, if they've never heard of a reverse offer, and now you're talking a month from now about doing a reverse offer, they're like, what is that? That should have been explained to them up front. If they're calling you a month into the listing demanding the open house, it's because we didn't explain to them how open houses don't successfully sell homes, and we do the everyday open house. So all of these benefits that we're putting, it's not just to get them to sign paperwork today, it's also to set the listing up for success so that they get what they need and we get what we want. So, did I answer the question on the C and the I? You've got to be able to talk to both, okay? So you've got to, you're going to be engaging. By the way, you notice in my example, I didn't really allow any time for just chit chat, but you need to do that. I guess I shouldn't just assume. It's okay when you sit down at the table that initial point where you're sitting down is 5 minutes or 10 minutes of just chatting, whatever. But just understand this. If they've met with other real estate agents, that was the whole appointment. Okay, here's the typical real estate agent's listing appointment. I come in, I sit down, we take a walk around the house, I sit down at the table, I try to bond with you for as long as possible so that you really, really like me, then I pull out comps and I try to get you to list with me. And then I start discounting my fee. That is what most real estate agents are doing. So if they had 2 or 3 meetings already and you're the last one, there's no reason for them to expect anything to do with a laptop. Let's be clear. So, but they do expect to bond with you a little bit. And that's why the question about the disc is so important, because I've never in my entire career had anybody say that this wasn't the best that they've seen, that this, the programs, everything that we do. I've never once had anybody not agree with that statement. The only reason you'd ever not get a listing to another agent is because we just felt like we bonded more with Johnny from Company X or Susie from Company Y. Well, that's the disc. That was me forgetting to work the way you want to work. You know what I mean? So to your point, you kind of have to sell to the more dominant personality because they're the dominant one. All right. Certainly the D dominates. Right. So if there's a D in the room, you need to sell to the D and respect the other person. Okay.
The D will convince the yes.
I once had a situation. It was a guy and his mother-in-law. Okay, and the guy was kind of working with the mother-in-law to interview the realtors. Okay, and the guy was clearly a high D, so I just focused everything on him. He convinced her to sign up. Called me up 2 or 3 days later. He said, "Hey Warren, I'm really looking forward to you getting the home sold. I just thought I would let you know as a point of constructive criticism that my mother-in-law really kind of didn't relate to you. And I really had to convince her to do this. And so maybe when you're doing presentations for people in the future, you should really slow it down and really relate more to those people." And of course I said, "Thank you, I really appreciate the advice." And then I hung up the phone and I'm laughing. I'm like, well, this Craig Proctor stuff really works. Because I identified that you were the D in the room and I sold to you and it worked and I got the listing. So all you're doing is validating that this was right, that I made the right decision. The other option is I could have bored the heck out of him by slowing everything down for her, and it might have still worked. It might not have, but it did work the way that we did it by going to the D. So it's a good point. Okay, so you're going to have to explain this slide without using the first person, obviously, because you're not me. Oh, and that's not. Yeah, that's a nice picture of us carving pumpkins.
I don't know how to explain pumpkin cutting.
There we go. All right. So there we are. Okay. So Craig Proctor sells 500 to 550 homes a year. So we joined his program. So everything we do in in selling homes here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and obviously I'd be specific with wherever they are, here in New Jersey or here in Mercer County or wherever they are. We're just following a system. I'm not taking credit for these ideas. The truth is they've been around for a while, but we're the only ones here in the area that use them, and they work really well, as we're going to show you. And our team leader, Warren, he's actually a coach and a trainer, for Craig Proctor now. So he actually trains other agents, not only around the country, but here in our area as well. Just like the other agents you met with this week. So you met with people who are like the students, and our team, we're actually the teacher. So you have the opportunity here to get the people that are actually doing the teaching. And Warren's also been a co-author on 3 books about real estate. And it just depends on how much you need to sell us and sell the team and get into a little bit of a bio. But I think it's very important, so you can mention the Wharton thing or not. What I find is if people have no idea what that is, then it doesn't mean anything to them. People that are poorly educated have never even heard of the Wharton School, and people that are more professional think it's really impressive. So just kind of know your audience, because I've found that it could go either way, so I don't make a big deal about it. But we're licensed in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. You've got to always say that. I guarantee you, whatever they're doing in real estate, they've considered the other side of the river. So it's very important. They didn't know that we were in both states, and we get a lot of business by telling people, we're licensed in both states, and they're like, oh, okay, because we were also looking at houses in New Jersey, and we were going to call this other agent. Oh no, I can handle all that for you. So make sure you always mention that we're licensed in both states, and this is the place to do it, okay? And like I said, what we do really works. We've actually been mentioned and named in the Wall Street Journal, the list of the top realtors in North America, or the United States anyway. And on the latest list, we ranked 172 in the United States. So, that doesn't mean anything to you, except that it means a lot to you. Okay, so I'm not telling you that we have all these rankings and we sell all these homes just to try to impress you. I'm telling it to you because we can do so much more for you as a home seller because we sell so many homes. And I'm going to explain to you about our team system, and I'm going to explain to you about all the things that we do for our clients. We couldn't do that. When I was just beginning my career, I couldn't do all of those things for my clients. And solo agents that are just working by themselves, they're just not in a position to do as much as we can do for you. Does that make sense? And that's where they start to get it. Just throwing awards and stuff at them is meaningless, and it's just bragging, and it's not why we're putting that in the presentation. So understand, you have to directly correlate it to the benefit to the seller. And we'll get into that a little more later on. So there's a really big problem in the industry. They do these surveys every year, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but 72% of people who sold a home said they are dissatisfied with their agent's performance. Can you imagine? 72%. And that really catches their attention, right? And so then we get into, now we survey our past clients, and I'm happy to say 19 out of 20, 95% tell us that they would come back and use us again. And that's a really big deal. And again, I always relate everything to something that's sort of a little softer, that doesn't sound like bragging. So I'll always say, that's a really big deal because, listen, our business is based on referrals. And we want not only that we do a great job for you, but we want you to be so happy that you're sending us your friends and your family and people at work and things like that. And I'm going to be asking you for those referrals a little bit later on. So it's important that you believe that we can really do a great job for you right from the start. So I'm conditioning them for referrals, and I'm also letting them know that I'm not in this just for a quick buck. I want a lifetime relationship with you. We've done the math, and lifelong relationships are where all the money is in these businesses. And you guys see that with the repeat business and referrals. So I'm letting them know that that's important to me, and it also gives them a sense of comfort that I care about them beyond just getting their home sold, getting a quick buck, and moving on. That's a big deal. Buyers as well, as you know. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read all of these testimonials, and I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on each slide, but they're here purposefully because I want them to see that we have a lot of them. Okay, and I want them to see that we have all different types of homes that we sell. You notice the first slide, was kind of row home city stuff, but then we get into the suburban homes. So wherever I am, they're going to see a house that's like their house. And look, we're in a very racially diverse area as well. So they're going to see people that look like them as well. They're going to see men, they're going to see women, white, black, Asian, you name it. So I want to make sure that they feel comfortable, that they don't feel like, oh, well, these guys are just not for me. So that's important as well. Okay, so I go through, I just kind of flip through it again. We're not reading each one, but they can just kind of see. And it sort of skews a little bit towards a lot of the city row homes. So, that's why the single family suburban homes are towards the top. But this is the important point, all right? So there's a lot of reasons that are given on that survey, that I mentioned to you guys. But the top two reasons seem to be poor communication, and of course they're nodding and they're agreeing if they've ever sold a home. And number two, being locked into a long-term contract. And they really resonate with that. Okay, so I mentioned those two things. Okay, well, the way I look at it is this. In business, if there's a problem for the customer, then that means there's an opportunity for certain businesses to improve it for the customer. And so that's what we do on our team. So first of all, with us, you're not locked into a long-term contract. It's not, you're not locked in for 6 months or a year or anything like that. Our agreement is day to day. All right, we believe that if we're not doing a good job for you, you should be able to just fire us. Now, the other agents that you met with, did they give you that sort of flexibility with what they're offering? And they'll say either yes or no. Right, it's very early on, and this is not even close to the most valuable thing we do. So don't panic if they say, oh yeah, one of the other agents said they would do that as well. Okay, no problem. So, you've met with people who want to lock you into a contract, and then you met with one person who said they would let you out of it. Just so you know, there's no cancellation fee with us. There's no waiting period, nothing like that. And the reason we do that is we just believe that no matter what, in business, you should be accountable. And we hold ourselves accountable to our clients. So any of our clients could fire us at any time if they were dissatisfied. And that's a big deal. Most of the time, that's not what they've heard. The majority of the industry is just locking you into a contract. So they'll be impressed and they'll really like it. But if you ever run into somebody that says, yeah, one of the other agents offered that, that's okay. We're just getting started. Okay? All right. The other big complaint about real estate agents, of course, is poor communication. Okay, so we have systems in place to make sure that that never happens for you. Okay, we have a feedback system where you're going to get up-to-date information on exactly what's going on with the sale of your home. Okay, first of all, we have an online feedback system that actually collects and solicits feedback about the showings. Okay, so we're going to know what buyers thought. Now, what's your opinion of feedback? Did you guys give any thought to that? Did you want to hear feedback from the buyers who come through your home, or did you not want to hear that? And it's important to ask this question because some people really, really want feedback. I'd say that's more than half of the folks. But some people want nothing to do with it. Especially expired listings. If they've been on the market recently, they may say, I don't want that. All it was people trashing our house, Warren. We don't want to hear that stuff. I just want offers. Just, I'll keep all the other stuff to yourself. I don't want to hear it. Okay, now I know. If I even want to, I can just make a note of that on my folder because that's important to them. Probably I won't, though. I'll probably wait till they hire me because if they're not going to hire me, who cares what they want in anything in life? But if they hire me, then I'll get those important things. Okay? So, but the point is, by asking questions, I'm engaging them in the conversation. And I'm determining what it is that's important to them so I can keep speaking to it. Okay? So we talk a little bit about the feedback, and this is also where I prepare them for what's coming. So I'll also mention to them. So if they say, yeah, we really want feedback. Okay, we definitely want to know what's going on, and we want to know that. I'll say, okay, that's great, and we can definitely get it for you. Just so you know a couple of things about feedback. There's basically two kinds of feedback. First of all, there's people that are interested in your house and they're going to ask questions. And those are the most important people for us to speak with. Those people don't typically fill out a form on the website. What those people do is they call. They or their agent will call us up and they'll ask us questions. Hey Warren, 123 Main Street, what's the deal in the backyard? There's a bunch of fences. Like, where does the property end? You see, they're looking for clarification because they're interested in your house. That's the most important that we're going to deal with. And being fast and responding to those kinds of questions, that's a big deal. That's a difference in you getting your home sold and not, in a lot of cases, believe it or not. So that's a really big deal. The other kind of feedback is excuses why people don't want to buy your house. Okay? So what we've done is we used to ask all of these really bad questions. And I don't know if you've interviewed other agents and you've drilled down on this enough, but we used to ask buyers, what did you think of the price of the home? Yeah. You know, what would you do, you know, to improve the house? Like all this nonsense that doesn't mean anything. I either like your house or I don't. So we cut all that out and we have it down to just 2 questions. Why aren't you buying the house? Well, are you buying the house? And if not, why not? And it's very simple, and it seems like it's really direct, but you'd be amazed. We get very, very good answers. The other question we ask is, if you're not buying the house, what potentially could be done to where you would buy the house? So we're basically asking the buyer 2 very direct questions and getting really good answers from them as to why they're not interested in your house. Because if their answers are things you can fix, then we can deal with that. Right? So if their answer is the buyer really liked the house, but the fence is broken in the backyard, well, we could make an